Hey there! All right, I want to welcome my good friend Cheryl. What we're going to talk about is graphics and how she makes a lot of money doing this and how she outsources it. I'm going to tell you, she actually came up with something very special to do, and I haven't seen this ever before. And what's nice about it is that it's very easy to do, and it's something different that everybody else is doing. And one thing about it is that it's very simple to do. So let me actually introduce my good friend Cheryl, and you know what? She's going to actually give you some wow factors that's actually just I'm going to tell you, it's going to knock your socks off. So welcome, Cheryl.
Hi there. Glad to be here.
Yes. Cheryl, I know that you started making a lot of money right away after you start learning how to actually get your internet marketing done and everything and going through it. How did you actually, when you first started, did things actually go off right away for you, or how did that work out for you?
Not exactly. I'm actually trained as an artist. I've done a couple other things. I worked in management for a while, managing other artists. But like most people know, artists aren't exactly known for making a lot of money, right? And it didn't bother me because it wasn't really important to me. Except then, my grandma died and my mom and dad both lost their jobs, and I realized that someday I'm going to need a retirement, and my generation in particular, we're not getting Social Security, right? So I need to make sure I'm covered. I need to make sure my mom's covered. So I decided I needed a little more, and I decided to start my own business, which is actually art outsourcing. So that's pretty much how I got into that.
That's awesome, I think. So I know that you're a great graphics artist, and you have a unique technique that you actually make a lot of money outsourcing a lot of graphics. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How you actually what are the 5 methods that you actually start? Really, the first method. How do we actually start making money with what you found out as a strategy, and you're finally making quite a bit of money?
It's actually not that hard. All you really need to do is get high-quality images, and they practically sell themselves. Images will do everything that you could ever want in your business. They get you traffic. They engage your traffic. They convert people into paying customers. They make you look incredibly good and incredibly professional, so people will give you more money for the things you have because they place a higher value on it. But not only that, you can do, if you want, you can do little quick fixes. Like, for example, you could go to Fiverr, and you could pay $5 for a logo, and then you could sell that logo to someone else for like $60. And that's something that anyone can do, and you can kind of ramp up that process. And you can do that with offline as well, actually. It works really well in offline businesses.
That's awesome, and I have a huge offline business. But before I go into say about the offline business, very important, you guys. Get your pad of paper, get your pen, because that's really important. Because we're going to give you a lot of golden nuggets today and everything, and also very important because lock your door in case your spouse actually comes in and she brings the dog inside, and all of a sudden the dog's jumping on top of your table, which happened to me a couple interviews before. So now I lock the door. So make sure you guys do that right away, because otherwise you're going to miss out a lot of stuff. And what she mentioned about offline, this is really big time, because I make a lot of money in offline. And a lot of times what a customer is looking for, such as a plumber, a roofer, a dentist, is he's looking for a graphic where that maybe it's a branding that they have. And this can actually be, what happens is, like, when I signed up a dentist probably about a couple months ago, he's paying me $1,200 a month. But what actually kept him, he's going to keep paying for me, is because I set him up with one of these graphics, which gave him a lot of branding, which was that, basically I showed to him, it's, working with somebody in a chair, but more of a cartoon figure. And when I did that, he was so proud of that he even showed his friends, his family about it. Now he's locked in, and he'll probably actually keep paying for the next 2 years. So if you're actually an offline, this is one of the methods you can actually use, the graphics package that she has. Am I right, Cheryl?
Yeah, you're right. Not only can you do that, but if you wanted to, you could start on one end of the block and walk down the street and go in every store. And you could walk in and say, I think that you might need a new logo, and pull out a booklet of logos that you have the rights to use, right? So you're like, oh, look at these nice logos. And they're like, oh, yeah, I do need a logo. So you say, okay, well, now that you need a logo, maybe you should have this, or maybe you need that. And if you start giving them some nice things, they'll give you more and more work. And then you can go to the next store and do the exact same thing. And by the time you get to the end of the block, you're pretty much made for the next couple of months.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, so that was pretty much method 1. And what's the method 2, Cheryl?
Well, that's a couple of methods, actually.
Sure.
I mean, I guess method 2 would be the tried and true. You get something that looks professional, and you use it, and people see it and think, oh my gosh, they know exactly what they're doing. They must, they must have really good products, so I'm going to pay for that. I mean, it sounds really simple. It doesn't necessarily sound like it works, but it does. Like, people put a lot of value on images and what images say about the people who have them.
That's awesome. And then, when you actually, how do we actually get these images? Just wondering.
Oh, well, that's actually really easy. So the most important part about getting images isn't necessarily who you hire or anything like that. The most important part is you have to know what you want. You have to get information on what you want. You have to get examples. At that point, you can hand it off to half of the people you'd find online, and they can do it. The main problem is communication.
Okay. And then, so basically, is there places that you'd recommend where you can actually get these images, or where you can maybe outsource it, or?
Oh yeah, there are all sorts of places. Actually, you have 2 options. You can outsource it, which I would personally suggest, and you can also get graphics packs. Graphics packs are generally a little better if you give them to an outsourcer to use for you. But yeah, so as far as places go, I mean, obviously there's Fiverr. You can go to portfolio websites like DeviantArt. You can go to, oh goodness. Honestly, if you just go online and you type in like art outsourcer, you're going to get like 50 websites. Every website is good for something different. For example, Odesk is one that people consider really professional. They're really, really good for more of graphic design and website kind of stuff, if you want to go in that direction. There's also iFreelance, and iFreelance does a lot of logos and a lot of character art and illustration and that kind of stuff. So it really depends. I mean, you can find everything just about everywhere. But I guess that is the beauty of the internet. So
that's awesome. Anywhere else that you would suggest where that you can sell the images once you get a package of them, or you pick one up from Fiverr?
Where to sell them?
Yes.
Well, actually, if you have the rights to sell them, you can sell them to other artists. A lot of art outsourcing is actually making things for other people who do artwork who don't have enough time to actually do all of the artwork for the clients they take on. So you're kind of like taking on their extra.
I get you. And then I guess we had method 3. What else you suggest really how to really take the business to the 2nd level or 3rd level?
Infographics. Now, people think that infographics are really hard to do and really hard to get. You just need a specific kind of person to do them. And no one wants to read information, but everyone likes to see it, which means that if you actually get a nice-looking infographic, it goes viral, and it goes viral very quickly, which gets you a lot of traffic. So that's definitely a good way to make some money.
That's awesome. For the newer people out there, what is infographics?
Oh, I'm sorry. An infographic is basically where you take a bunch of statistics, information, things that would normally be very boring to just read, right? For example, 40% of people respond better to images than text or something like that, right? And then you illustrate it. So maybe if you're doing 40% of people, you'd have 10 people and you color in 4 of them. Or maybe you have a pie chart or something like that. And people have found a way to do this in a very cartoony or modern look, depending on which way you go. And it really, really draws people's attention because they like looking at pretty things and they like knowing things. It makes them feel intelligent.
Yes.
But Yeah, but they don't want to actually read it. So this makes it a lot more comfortable for them to learn things that they can later go to their friends and say, hey, did you know about this? So they get really popular, and because they get really popular, they spread like wildfire.
That's awesome. Like you can use like pie charts or really stats or whatever, and then basically it's something that they can actually share on Facebook and go viral. Am I right?
Oh, especially Facebook. Facebook and Twitter are the two big ones.
That's awesome.
Oh, Pinterest, believe it or not.
And what's good about it is that you will own the rights with it, and then you can actually even sell the rights possibly also.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And then I guess number 4.
Actually, that should be number 4.
Yes, the number 5th method. What would you actually suggest on that one?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, this is going to sound a little weird. Are you ready?
Sure.
Are you ready? Okay. Now, I mentioned Pinterest earlier, right?
Yes.
Most people don't put any value in Pinterest. They don't really see, I mean, it's just a bunch of images up, and it has a really loyal fan base, but that's about it. But you know what? People who are on Pinterest are very loyal, and what that means is that if you get your product image on Pinterest and they see it, they're 20% more likely to actually buy it just because they saw it on Pinterest. And I'm serious, that's an actual statistic.
Wow, wow, wow. So for this is something so everybody can actually know how to actually use this. For example, if you have a product such as you're promoting, maybe if I get this right, Cheryl, on ClickBank, and you get a cool image that actually attracts a lot of attention,
yep.
What will happen, I mean, if I get this right, and they click the image, then most likely can it probably take you to the product or actually drive more sales to that product or CPA offer?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's another way that you guys can use it. I think. And let me also I'm going to mention that Cheryl has a great product. Can you tell us what's inside the product, Cheryl?
Yeah, yeah. So the product is a mix of stuff. It's actually an e-guide for starters. It's a 56-page e-guide. It tells you everything you need to know, step by step, handholds you through the process of getting really, really nice artwork done in the least amount of time with no frustration for the least amount of money, right? And then to make it easier on you, what I actually did is I made like note-taking templates so that you don't have to figure out what to write down or whatever. It's there. You just have to fill it in. And I made a cheat sheet. And I actually made templates for the email that you'll need to send back and forth with your outsourcer. I mean, a lot of it is communication and knowing when to say what and when to give what information. So I made it really easy in that I tell you exactly what you have to say, and I actually give you the template where you just fill in your information and you can send it out.
That's awesome. Do you tell how to find a good outsourcer so that we don't pick a bad one and all of a sudden we spend the money and all of a sudden it's like, this is not what I really wanted?
So for finding a good outsourcer, I mean, this is going to sound obvious, but the most important thing is to look at their portfolio. Because if they don't have something like what you want in their portfolio, they're not going to be able to give it to you most of the time. So you need to find someone who does something like whatever you want them to make for you. Okay. After that, you need to look at their reviews, obviously, right? But here's something that I learned the hard way. Always check the date on the reviews. One time I hired an outsourcer because their reviews went from really bad to really good, and I thought, oh, you know, maybe they learned, maybe they changed their ways. Turns out it was listed backwards. So they were really good, and then they ended up being really, really bad, which I found out after the fact, and that was just a big mess. So always, always check the dates.
That's awesome. What is like the typical price of an image? Say that if I wanted to get an image of, maybe say myself, maybe a little cartoon figure. What would that range from the low side to the high side?
Well, obviously the more detail that's in it, the more expensive it's going to get. At the lowest range, you could probably get that. Actually, you could probably get that on Fiverr for $5. If you want it to be really, really, really nice, though, like if you want it to be able to see all the different hairs on your head or something like that, then it could get up to probably about $200, maybe.
Okay, okay. And then I know there's your product, your course actually has a jam-packed. What else is inside the course that everybody's going to actually see when they purchase it?
Are we talking just the front end here?
The front end, then we'll go to the OTO.
Okay. So basically what I do in there is start off explaining why images are important, obviously, right? I go through all of the different kinds of information you need, all the things you need to know and why you need to know them. And then I go through when you have to give certain things to your outsourcer, and I go through the revision process, and I mean, honestly, it's a lot of communication. Things that people don't learn because they never have a reason to learn them, which means they don't have anyone to learn them from either. And that's actually a big draw for the book, is you're learning from me, and this is what I do for a living. And I've worked with some really, really huge companies. Like, for example, I've worked with Disney, I've worked with Marvel, I've worked with Nike, I've worked with Discovery, actually. A lot of big, big companies. So you can trust me when I say I know what I'm doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like you guys say, she really is a real deal. She's worked for Marvel Comics. I mean, that's huge. I love Marvel Comics and Disney and Discovery. I mean, so she actually knows quite a bit, and she's giving you a lot of stuff really inside the front end. What is actually in the OTO?
Okay, so the OTO exists solely to make the process easier for you guys. The first thing is I took 3 separate books, okay, 3. One on art terms, one on communication, and one on specifically how to find an outsourcer, like specific examples, the pros and cons of each one, that kind of thing, what you're going to find there. And I took all 3 of these books, and I actually inserted them into the original exactly where they're supposed to go. And the reason I did it that way instead of just handing you the books I already had was because I don't want you guys to have to go back and forth between books. Like, when do I use this communication technique? What part of the process do I need to, look at this website for? I don't want you guys to have to do any of that. You don't go back and forth. It's all right there exactly where you need it. Also, I've given you my NDA and my contract in template form, because legal documents are incredibly expensive, and if you don't know the process, you don't know what you need to put in them, and if you hire someone to do that, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. So I figured I'd just give them to you.
You know what? That actually is a big hit, because when you actually get these for free, I know that, a lot of these online sources, especially when you want to purchase a contract, it can get pretty hefty in price. Yeah. And not only that, but she uses it on a regular basis, so she knows that contract really works. Yeah. How much is the front end?
The front end is actually a dime sale, starting at $9.95.
Okay. And then, of course, that's jam-packed with a lot of material and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the OTO, how much is that?
The OTO is $27.
$27, and you get the legal documentation, you get all her templates, you get pretty much all her cheat sheets just to make your business a lot more easier. Right? Am I right?
Yes, and you know what else you get with the OTO? I forgot about this one. Are you ready? Okay,
yes.
So the front end has the cheat sheet. The OTO has an interactive workbook. You don't have to write anything. You can go through there. There are a couple of places where you have to fill in text boxes here and there, but most of it is like radio buttons and check boxes. So you don't even have to think about what you're going to send to your outsourcer. You just check things off, and then you can send it off if you want to.
That's awesome. In the OTO, do you tell exactly where to go for outsources?
Yes, I give very specific examples of where you can go and what kind of things they do, and I give pros and cons for the different types of outsourcing places.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else besides the OTO, or any more OTOs on that?
Yes, there's a second OTO actually, which is an hour of my time for whatever you want to talk about involving this, obviously. Art outsourcing, artist management, anything like that. Basically, if you go through the book and you have a question, ask me. It's not a big deal. Take some of my time. I can make a pipeline for you. I can tell you how it works in your business. I can tell you how to make money with it for your business. All I have to do is ask.
That's awesome. So how much is that part for the personal coaching, which will actually take their business to another level?
Well, the personal coaching is $199.
$199. There you go. which is awesome because if you guys wanted how to learn this by yourselves, it's going to cost a lot more money actually. For the reason you're going to make a lot more mistakes. Because
Yes.
how long have you been actually doing this, Cheryl?
Oh, goodness. I've been an artist for 15 years, so I definitely know how artists think and what to look for in them. I was an outsourcing manager for 5 years, and I've been a freelance artist, so an art outsourcer myself, for about 4.
That's awesome. So actually, you're getting 15 years of experience for about 199. So you can actually get most of her, not all her education, but quite a bit. So you can actually pick her brain and actually find out. So how do I do this? How do I go about this? And go about this. And what's
Yep.
nice about this is it's a niche business that a lot of people are not into it because the reason is because they wouldn't even know how to really get started on this. Am I right?
Yeah, it's true. Not only that, the people who do talk about this kind of thing, oftentimes they don't know what an artist needs to get work done because they're not an artist. They don't understand. So they give out bad advice, not realizing that it's bad advice. And then people take that advice, they get bad results, and they're like, well, okay, then why am I even doing this? This is really uncomfortable. This is really frustrating. I don't want to have to deal with this. But it's not because of the outsourcing. It's not because of the artwork. It's because they don't know the process.
Exactly, exactly. And so basically you heard from Cheryl. I mean, this is a niche that a lot of people aren't in for the reason that they weren't actually exposed to it for the reason that they didn't even know it actually existed. So it's actually a wide open market where you can actually sell images to offline businesses. You can actually find out how to get these images relatively inexpensive. And Cheryl is actually going to take you from point A to point Z step by step to show you how she does this method. And in the OTO, it's going to be a ton of templates and a lot of cheat sheets and a lot of stuff really to take your business to another level, like I said, because it's going to make it a lot more easier. And then the third thing, which is awesome really, and anybody who wants to go this big time and actually just own this market, which they possibly can, I would actually recommend the coaching because now you're getting Cheryl's 15 years of experience. And within 1 hour, you can learn a lot from her, especially before you guys go for the coaching, this is what I've done many times. Make sure you have a pad of paper. So you just don't say, oh, Cheryl, how was your day? Cheryl, what are you doing this weekend? You got to ask, you got to write down your questions. And then after that, then you check them off. And then if you don't have nothing to say, then you can actually, say whatever you say. That's really important because an hour of our time is really worth a lot of money to everything. So any last words of advice, really, of really how to actually get started with this, besides the number one thing is actually click the link on the bottom and get straight to our course.
Actually, I do have a piece of advice. Look around you. Most people don't place any importance on images because they don't realize how often they see them. They're everywhere. They're in every market. They're in every niche. They're in every single type of marketing. They're everywhere. Everything you do. Like, I'm staring at you right now. Technically, it's video, but it's still an image. If you took a screenshot, it would be an image. And the web browser that's around it, those are all images. I mean, there is not a single place in this world that doesn't use images, which means you can sell to everyone. And you'll never run out of people to sell to. You'll never run out of customers because everyone needs it. That's
so true. And would you actually recommend selling the same image over and over, maybe, possibly? And so if you buy an image for $5, you might be able to sell for $20 over and over and over, possibly. Or is that something that's a taboo?
That happens a lot. Personally, just from an ethical standpoint, I would suggest that if you do that, you at least let them know that it's not a custom image. But most of the time, clients don't really care so much. They're just worried about the legality of it and whether or not that they can actually legally use it. As long as they can legally use it and it's pretty, they usually don't care.
Yeah, that's totally right, because you know what, there's a lot of places where that you can get images and they actually resell the images, but people don't care because if they like it and it looks good, they want it. And I've seen that before because I've done it myself. I've purchased a lot of images, and I'll tell you, she is right, because by getting the right image, you can actually brand yourself, and you can actually because branding is very important. And I'm actually looking for an image myself, really, and so I've actually learned quite a bit because you've seen a lot of internet marketers or even dentists what they'll do is they'll have a kind of a cool cartoonish image. And so once they see it, they actually brand it. And you know what? It actually gets people knowing you a lot more, and it warms people up, especially your customers. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, you want an example of how important branding is?
Sure.
Okay, so everyone knows Zynga, right? Do you know Zynga?
Not as much. Explain it to me, please.
Okay, Zynga is a mobile game studio. They make like Farmville, for example. If you've heard of Farmville.
Yes.
Yeah. So they make a lot of games like that. Just about anything that has "ville" on the end, they've made it. One of the games they're really, really known for is poker. But their original girls for poker were actually purchased as stock art so other people could use them, which became a huge issue. Because think about it. If someone else uses those girls, people are automatically going to associate Zynga's reputation with the person who's using those girls. It doesn't matter what they do. They're going to get traffic and they're going to get customers because the customers are going to be mistaken about who they are. And people take advantage of that all the time. And this is partially why branding is so important, is because it leaves that image in people's heads. I mean, it defines your company as far as other people are concerned. So it's definitely worth doing it right.
That's awesome. And you saw what happened with Zynga. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar company, and it started from the very bottom. So, like she said, and Cheryl says, my friend, is that you have to brand, because if you want to get big time, you need a brand. Everybody should have a brand. I don't care if you're an internet marketer or you're just doing this for fun, whatever. Or if you're a dentist or you're a doctor or a roofer, you need a branding or an image or a graphic image, because you want to take your business to the next level. That's what I suggest. Second thing is that if you sell these images, you're going to make a lot more money, because nobody's really doing this business that I've seen. And Cheryl's not going to have this up for a long time. It will be taken down sooner or later. So all I can tell you is that price is going up with the purchase of almost every sale. So if you want to get on to the lowest price, click the link on the bottom. Any last word, really, is that the one word to take your business to the next level?
Sorry, I'm actually really bad at this one. I keep thinking of phrases like pay attention or look around you or be observant or things like that.
Or focus.
Focus is good.
Yes.
Focus is good.
And that's one thing you guys got to do. If you get into the business that Cheryl's saying, get your blinders on, stay focused, and actually get the front end and the OTO. And I would recommend the coaching for the reason that, hey, if you're going to do the business, go just jump right in the water and do it. And then you're going to be one of the few that are actually doing this business, so it's a wide open market. All right, Cheryl, I appreciate having it on. I've learned a lot. I've taken a ton of notes myself. I hope everybody else has. If you guys missed anything, you can watch the video again. The last thing is click the link on the bottom and check it out. Anything? Is there a guarantee on this?
Yeah. There is a 30-day guarantee.
Okay, and then so if, for example, if they don't like it or anything, or if they love it, they're still guaranteed, right?
It's still guaranteed.
So everything.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. So it's a win-win situation. What are you guys waiting for? If you love it, go for it. I'm telling you, because it's a win-win. I mean, you got to figure, if you love it, you love it. If you don't, you don't. It's no questions asked. Anything. Yep. So last thing is click the link on the bottom. I loved having you here, Cheryl. I was really looking forward to this interview, and I had a great time. Thanks a lot, Cheryl.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
You too. Click the link on the bottom, you guys, and grab it. And even if it's a 30-day guarantee, can't go wrong.